Hey, it's Vanessa Love. This is my channel about the mental health field and related topics. All right. Shit's bad, y'all. I don't know what else to say. Um, Shit's going down, and there's just stuff. And I don't, this is gonna be a story time, and it's Halloween. Um, there's issues. There's so many issues going on, and it's not just like the things that you think that you know. It's like a whole bunch of other stuff that it's like, oh, okay, all right. So, on the therapist end of BetterHelp, let me tell you, the therapists were not being paid well from what therapists tell each other. And on top of that, like, there was just all the therapists who were involved with BetterHelp now knowing that they were selling information that was like medical records and HIPAA protected is, there's that sense of like they contributed, and there's a sense of guilt, and like even if they didn't know or understand what was going on, they still contributed to it. And so luckily I'm not involved with any of that, but like, how many of my darling like colleagues who, had they known what was going on, would not have been involved with BetterHelp. A bunch of them are involved with other companies that I still have questions about because I do not trust many other places to protect client information. I I I legally, and everyone else legally, has to have a two lock system. That means if you like have your like, for a therapist to have your medical record digital, there has to be a two lock limit or two lock system. So logging into a computer, a lock here, a lock there, like a lock on things, you know yeah, a lock on the computer and then a lock to the program that holds the records. So but like back end stuff, I have questions, and people don't always want to like answer questions about like storage of data because they don't want to. Some people don't know, and some people just don't want you to know, which data breaches, as you know, have happened very often, and like, no one is immune. We know that like the FBI is not immune. My information was compromised to the FBI. Like the Experian, you would think that they would have better. They did not, and they also didn't do very well with managing that whole situation. And then there's a bunch of like smaller ones that you'll never know about, but your information is probably out there, and I just don't feel comfortable if it was coming from my end. So I have questions. So there's that part. I had a situation the other day, and I want to bring it up because I want you all to know about laws so that you know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable for anyone to do to you, like medically, legally. I know like sometimes when I read like reviews of like doctors and stuff, like it's very clear that some people have no idea, like that it's not easy. And like then there's also like the initial what is that called, like the initial contract. You should probably have a copy of your initial contract with your therapist, even though it maybe doesn't seem like you should, because now with the what is that called, like the good estimate, the fair estimate act, like a good faith estimate act, that like you have to know how much things cost. So no call, no show. If it's $150 fee, you should know that, right? Like that should be clear to you either when it happens or that it might, that it is there, you know. So, um, things like that. It is it is illegal for me as a therapist to get paid for any referrals that I make to anyone anywhere. There's no particular colleague or place that I usually give anyone's information, who I, like, hey, if you're not going to be on my waiting list, here's a list of people. I don't get paid for that. Okay, that is never okay. That is against ethics according to Connecticut law. Whatever the ethics say is the legal right of that therapist. So any ethics, whatever governing body I have, right, whatever their ethics is according to Connecticut state law, that is the law for me. Okay, ethics can sometimes differ from laws. Very much depends on the state. Okay, so that's a whole thing. I cannot get paid for referrals. Okay, I don't get paid for referrals. I usually just find out which colleagues have openings, and then I send that information over to someone who does not want to be on my wait list. That is fine with me. I'd rather have it that way. So I went to a dentist, and that dentist for TMJ as a specialist, and found out that they will not refer, which, I mean, this is so fucking illegal. I mean, this should be outlawed just straight out. They referred me to a particular company. They will not refer me to anyone else because they are getting kickbacks from that company. They were basically like, we have a contract with them. And I'm like, so I can't go down the street to the imaging place that is closer to me because you have a contract with someone 30 minutes away from me, and you refuse to give me a referral for someone else, asking me to contact my doctor and have them sign off something because you fucked up. Because you have this contract with this other person. That's fucked up. And I know exactly what's going on. This is not, I am refusing medical treatment at this point because, how do I know that imaging was actually necessary if you're telling me that, I can only get it through this company because of your contract? That's fucked up. Just so fucked up. So fucked up. I'm not about this. I'm about to drop this doctor and just be like, well, I'm glad that you created a plan for me. You don't get any of my money. Have fun. Bye. Also, their imaging company is being super weird and not very helpful, and keeps telling me I don't have insurance, which I have insurance, so I can't even begin. I can't even begin to just have the most. But I'm always glad for things like that because I'm just well, had that not been an issue, then I wouldn't have tried to look elsewhere. Then I wouldn't have had this issue. So, now I'm just, not getting, I guess, everything that's recommended, but also, how do I know that that's truly recommended if the only thing, if there's money involved, that's fucked up. Maybe this test, maybe this image or whatever, wasn't even necessary, but you're contracted. And I don't even know if there's, a limit to your contract. So, does everyone who come to you need to have an image? Probably not. But, well, they require a certain amount of referrals, don't they? Well, cool, great, glad that that's what you're in this for. That's fucked up. So, this is hard because it's one of my colleagues and it's someone who I looked up and respected for a while, but this is a whole different story than the previous one. Okay. Shit's going down in the therapy community. It's bad. This might be one of those things that eventually has it has a falling out already. But I would not be surprised if this eventually became one of those stories, documentaries. So here's what's going down. There was a guy who was a therapist in California, And he owned a couple of practices. And before, I think, the pandemic, he opened a practice in another state. I don't want to give too much away, but I figure eventually, whenever anything comes out, someone will figure out, someone will make the connection. So he was a therapist. He stopped seeing clients after a while. And he also, and this is super, unfortunately, a huge giveaway, he was also doing videos for therapists. He was trying to, like, just be like, hey guys, like, you know, this is also one of my passions. Like, I do this. Like, I know how to do this. I know therapy. I know, like, video and editing and all of this stuff. Like, he was doing, like, I think a little bit of coaching on that. So he also had conventions. Another one of those things where I'm like, he had a really, really interesting, he always had interesting conventions. He was always really good about stuff, you know? And, like, he was definitely one of those people who I looked up to. But then, I kind of just stopped wanting to follow him because it seemed like he was in such a grind mindset. Like, it was never ending. He was one of those people that, like, I just, there's a lot within the community that I don't tolerate and, like, that I distance myself from, and this is one of those things. When it starts sounding too MLM, and I can go into a different story after this, but when it starts sounding too much MLM, I'm out. Like, that grind culture of, like, you know, you're always thinking, you're always doing, but also you shouldn't be working as much. Oh, also you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, also I'm, like, hanging out just, you know, in the coolest spots, doing the coolest shit. Look at me, you know, that type of stuff. Like, the flex culture still exists in therapy, but, like, I'm not about it. If, like, there have been opportunities to, again, it's one of those MLM things. It sounds like an MLM anyway. It's not, but, like, it sounds like an MLM. Like, give up your 9 to 5 and go around and do public speaking. Even if, like, I ever did that and, like, I was sought after for that, I would still want to be in my office with my clients because my clients are cool as shit, and, like, I love them as much as I can love them, and, like, I don't want to be away from them. Do you understand this? Like, I don't want to, like, I'd rather be here any day, every day, than get, 10,000, 100,000 for, like, doing speaking engagements, because it's not what I got into therapy for. And once people start pulling that shit, they're about the money, they're not about the clients. And, like, I'm not about it. Okay? Just my personal professional value is I'm here for my clients. That's what I've always done. That's what I'm always going to do, right? Hopefully that's what I always do. Maybe one day I'll quit and just own an art gallery, which is a dream of mine. Maybe I'll sew all day. I don't fucking know. But, like, that's not what I'm doing right now, okay? You'll know where to find me if anything happens. So, you know, this is very much his ideology, and I just stopped giving a shit and was like, I'm out. Stopped following him, stopped following all of his pages, I think at some point, so I have been on Facebook, like, so I had a bunch of therapists who were on my Facebook. Now I'm like, we're all good. I don't need to be therapy every day, all the day. I barely want to talk about my professional, like, career, my life outside of, like, the office, because, like, I just don't want to, like, because then it's always an invitation. People want to tell you all their shit, and I'm like, I'd rather just be like, I'm an assistant at a dental office. Like, I don't want to talk about therapy outside of the therapy office. Okay, so I pulled back. I was like, I'm just kind of done. Well, this guy had a rough couple of years, and as far as my colleagues can report and can find out, he has scammed other therapists for at least $100,000. It's not anything that I thought that would happen, you know? Like, it sounds so nice the way he started. He was a therapist. He created a group practice, but something went wrong, and his coworkers, colleagues, friends, are now saying like the fame and kind of the money got to his head, which like that's not okay, and like the times that I've been bullied by other therapists have been the people who are in this for the money, and there are people in this absolutely for the money. They are the ones who are coming after me for whatever reason, but like maybe I trigger something in them, like I'm too authentic or something. Maybe I blow up their shit and blow up their spot, and they're just like, you're terrible. How did you get into therapy and act like this? Like, yeah, how did you get into therapy and act like this? But yeah, the type of people who try to bring me down in this field are the ones who are out there for money. There was someone who was a group therapist, who, again, it sounds like an MLM, used entirely the same things. Quit your 9 to 5. Become a group therapist. You can just become a group therapist. You don't have to work as much. You can pay me $6,000 for my 6-week program, and I can brag that I have made $50,000 in a month. And then get mad at me for what? For what? For saying that that's just like, you're just training people and coaching people to do with it. Like, yeah. I was like, I'm fucking tired of this shit. At that point, everyone had a fucking webinar. Oh my god, everyone with their fucking webinars. And no one wanted to admit that the webinars are to get your information, because had it been anything else, you would have just been able to watch a YouTube video about it, and usually you can. So like, it is not something that is so proprietary that you do not get to know it. Even the things that are proprietary, like EMDR or DBT, you can buy the workbooks. Like, not that I think that you should, but like, it's not so out of like grasp, that you wouldn't be able to get it. So like, no, that like, I don't know why everyone thinks that webinars were like the best thing, like, for whatever reason. And then when I was like, during the webinar, do the words, "I have a special value for you," come out of your goddamn fucking mouth. And no, they didn't want to admit that it was an advertisement for I think at that point it was like $3,000 for a 6-week thing. And let me tell you, I did sign up for, sorry, I gotta tell you some of this. I did sign up for, like, just pretending that I could possibly do it. And it was so funny because this email machine just every day, like, first of all, within the first like 5 minutes, it was 3 emails, and I think later on that day there were at least 2 more emails, and then the next day there were 3 emails, and the next day there were 3 emails, and the next day there were 3 emails. This is fucking bullshit. So they just want your email address. And she was so funny because she was like, well, I work with people exclusively. And I was like, no, you don't. If I paid you today, you would absolutely take me on as a client. So go fuck yourself. Like, don't pretend like it's so prestigious to get my information to work with me. Like, it's not. I can tell you that flat out. You are here for the money. You have been here for the money, and I'm not surprised that she is no longer advertising that or partaking in that mindset. She fucking went into oblivion. I don't know where she is, but like, I have checked back into like that email address. I have checked back into that website, and she's just not. She's not available. She also should be canceled because she used Guru out of context, and I don't think that should be like a thing that, a therapist should just be able to do, especially when you're supposed to be culturally competent. It's a thing. So yeah, like there's a lot there's a lot in the field, and I am so sorry that I am coming across so angry. This is the way that I express this so that it does not sit inside of me. As I said, I would not be surprised if this therapist in California was going to be fully exposed, and that people like he has no Facebook anymore. His website is still up. I don't know how long that's gonna last. I went on to DuckDuckGo and looked him up. I don't know if there's like any review places where like people might be warning others about him to each other. But like, yeah, shit's going down. Shit's going down. That's all I can say is that I'm just like, okay. Um, Somehow, many years ago, this person was in New York, and I remember being like, oh, I'm in Connecticut. Kind of wish that you would have told me. And I don't remember how many years ago it was. But like, he just did not give me the time of day, and I'm like, I wonder if people know something sometimes and are like, I'm not getting her involved. Or if they're just like, that just doesn't seem like a thing right now. So, like, they just don't. But, yeah, it's not good to hear that this is coming from within the field. But I'm also, like, almost not surprised, because I think that there are people in this field for money. And I mean, I think Dr. Phil, same way. Like he was always in it for the money. He was not about this. If you know his history, he was a scammer anyway. He just got fortunate. So and was able to make a lot of money, and I guess still continues to make money, even though people are kind of like, well, he's a laughing stock. But there are people, unfortunately, in this field for money, and who are definitely willing to act in ways that are not acceptable and against ethics to be where they are. But I'm also like, well, I mean, I guess if occasionally you ask your colleagues for money, or to spot you something, or that you promise that they'll get into your conference and you'll give them $1,000 back or whatever, and then you don't, you've just committed a little bit of fraud, not like, large scale fraud. But I wouldn't be surprised if this was a class action suit, because of given how many people are affected by his actions. And yeah, it's it's so hard, because it's like you really never know. Like, I wouldn't have expected that, but also at some point I just kind of like, I'm good. I don't need to know this anymore. We're fine. And to find out that that was like the beginning of like a very big change for this person is kind of like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I saw something. Maybe I just knew. I don't know. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you, and I will talk with you guys soon. Thanks for liking and subscribing and commenting and all of the good things that make YouTube a mostly pleasant place to be. All right, bye.